Hey everybody, welcome to my kitchen slash shop. I do a lot of work up here. I said I had some micarta already made up for the scale liners for this knife, but I've been thinking about it, and I have black micarta, and I think I want to go with red. So we just thought we'd make a little video here real quick. We're going to throw some red micarta together with some construction paper. I've cut these pieces. We're ready to go with that. We just need to mix up our fiberglass resin and get it mixed up. It's going to be a lady's knife, so I thought red scale liners might be a little nicer, you know. So let's get some resin mixed up and let's make some micarta. So we've got our, I've got my cheap little plastic cutting board. Boy, if you make knives and do scales and what have you, you don't have one of these. It's just a floppy little cheap plastic cutting board. But man, I cut my material from my micarta on this with just a knife. And they're just very handy, and they're really cheap. You can get them, you know, at any department store, big box stores, whatever. So I'm out of those cheap little 99-cent mixing doohickeys that you can get at Wally World or wherever. So we're gonna have to use one of my kind of a throwaway, you know, those cheap containers you buy at the grocery store. And again, with my precision, I don't really measure this stuff. This little bottle of hardener, this little tube of hardener, is good for a whole can. This whole, I believe this is a 32-ounce can of resin. So you just figure you use a quarter of a tube for a quarter of a can, you know? And you can break it down from there, an eighth of a tube for an eighth of a can and what have you. I see some of these guys that mix this stuff and they measure it perfectly and so many drops, and you know, I make this stuff like I cook. I just throw in what looks good and season it with what I think will work out, and I've never had anyone complain. I make dinner out of leftovers in the fridge and just throw something together. And my daughter she would look at it and say, "Yeah, that looks gross, Dad." And I'd be like, "Yeah, well, don't eat it then." And, you know, she would eat it and be like, "Man, I can't believe, you know, that you can take food out of the fridge like that and throw it together and make something that tastes that good." And I don't use recipes, I just make things. I make awesome sausage gravy. And I still, to this day, and I've been doing it for most of my life, still to this day I wouldn't be able to tell you, you know, how much sausage, how much milk, how much flour. I just make it and it always turns out really well. So, alright, we've got that all mixed up. Now I need to get my gloves on here because things are going to get messy, I would imagine. They usually do when you make micarta. I bought a little packet of these gloves. I'm glad I didn't buy a whole big box of them like I did these. I bought a packet of them, and similar to what I did with my dust masks down in the garage, I just bought a packet of gloves. You know, I didn't pay much attention to it. Well, who knew there were different thicknesses and what have you, right? So, live and learn. I'd try to put them on and they would tear and fall apart. Needless to say, when I bought these gloves, I made sure I bought a heavier mill. Alright, we're just going to take this stuff here, this resin, and just paint it right onto our paper here. I hope we have enough, because this paper seems to be soaking it up fairly quickly. But that's kind of what we want. We want it to soak in and not have any dry spots. Gonna let you in on a little secret here. I've never made micarta out of paper. I've made micarta out of hand towels, fabric, sawdust, and what have you, but never paper. So this is going to be a new experience for me. But it's the same principle, you know. You get the stuff plenty gooey. Make sure that stuff all soaks in there really well. Now we're not using all red because I don't want to use up all of my red construction paper, so we're using 6 pieces of red and 3 pieces of pink. I don't know how that's going to work out in the final product. We'll see how it looks when it's done, I guess, but I think it'll be fine. The paper won't slide around on me. There's no way to move it except with the brush. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 3 pieces of red, then 3 pieces of pink in the middle of that, and then we'll do 3 more pieces of red on the other side. We'll just kind of sandwich those 3 pieces of pink in the center of 6 pieces of red. I don't know if we'll even really notice it or not when in the final product. We'll see. Kind of excited about this. I've never done any micarta with paper, so I'm kind of excited to see how this turns out. I would imagine turn out just fine. I don't know why it wouldn't. I'm curious to see if the pink actually shows up in the center of the red. I hope it does, because it'll kind of give it a neater look, I think. But we shall see. Man, this stuff stinks up the house. Don't know. Oh, man. I don't know what I was thinking, but I need to open that door because I don't have any ventilation going on. And whether the fumes are actually that dangerous or not aside, it really stinks. It smells like model glue. If you ever put any plastic models together when you were a kid, then you understand what I'm talking about. That's much better having that door open. Alright, our last piece of pink in the center of our, and I can tell you right now, I made way too much resin. Man, I hate wasting this stuff, because it's pretty expensive actually. You know, relatively speaking, I can make quite a few scale liners out of a can of fiberglass resin, but it's still fairly expensive, and you hate to waste stuff like that, you know. I think we're getting plenty of goop on our papers here. Trying to make sure we keep that stack pretty straight. We've got plenty here for our 2 scale liners for this knife. But the straighter you keep it, the less you have to waste trimming the edges and what have you, you know. Again, with the wasting things. And see, I buy these. Now, when I make my Micarta out of fabric, like a hand towel or something, that's what I've made my black scale liners are. They're just these black hand towels that I bought at Walmart, and they make pretty good scale liners. But I just cut my pieces. It's all the same size like we've done here. But then I just dip them right in the container where I've mixed my resin, and just get them soaked in there and then lay them out. It'd be a little hard to dip paper, and so I just buy these cheap little packets of brushes you can buy at Walmart. Kind of like those foam brushes that I buy. If you've seen my video of videos where I've finishing handle scales with polyurethane, and I just buy those cheap foam rubber brushes, and I can just cut them into small little pieces in order to use them to paint. Because you wouldn't want to try to use a brush this size to paint polyurethane on a knife scale, I don't believe, because you'd be making a mess more than anything, I believe. Alright, so there that is. And we've still got gobs of resin left. But I didn't know how much that would soak up and what have you, so I wanted to make sure I had enough. I wish I could pour it back into the can, but it has hardener in it, so that wouldn't wash at this stage of the game. So we've got that all laid out. Now we're going to go ahead. Need to move some stuff out of my way here. And we'll lay this piece of parchment paper over that one. Trying not to move our paper underneath. And I've got this board that I use because it's got a really nice surface on the one side. We'll lay that there. And our paper is trying to skid around on us under there a little bit. So take this can and set it here. That should, we'll take this coffee cup, set it right here as well. Just wanting to slide this way. Apparently that means my countertop leans this way, possibly. We're gonna have to take a look at this because that doesn't look right under there. I don't know. Yeah, doggone it. My paper has kind of slid around on me here. So, like I told you, I've never tried this before. What to expect. See, when you make micarta out of fabric, it doesn't, well, so much for that piece of parchment paper. Make micarta out of fabric, the fabric doesn't slide around like that. That's kind of strange to me that all of a sudden just decided to take off sliding around. But there's a lot of resin up in there, and it's gonna, it creates like kind of a cushion in there, I guess, and so your stuff wants to slide. All right, we got to grab another piece of parchment paper here. Oh no, that's not good. I don't think that's enough to cover that. So, we'll have to go to plan B and use a piece of wax paper, I guess. I don't know that I've used wax paper to do this before. I believe I may have, but the parchment paper I think just works better. Alright, let's see if we can get our board on here without this stuff sliding all over the place. Okay, I think it's kind of maybe set up enough, stiffened up enough, plus we squeezed it pretty good the first time, but I still want to put something with a little weight to it right here. Hopefully make sure that that doesn't slide anywhere, and it doesn't look like it's going to. So just tomorrow morning we'll see how our micarta came out. But that's how you make, well, that's how I make paper micarta. These should make some really thin little red scale liners that are going to really set it off between the, you know, between your spine of your knife and you know, like these. These are black and they look great, but I think the red will look pretty cool as well on a lady's knife. So we're going to find out. So, yeah, I'm here sweating again. It's pretty warm tonight still. It stayed overcast. I've got my furnace turned off in the house. The door's wide open, and still, but like I told you guys earlier in that video earlier today, making that knife for my neighbor, I run hot anyway, and man, I really sweat, so just standing here doing this, I started sweating. But it was warm in my kitchen. I mean, I was in there earlier editing that video before I uploaded, and it was fine, but for whatever reason in here it seems a little warmer. So alright guys, we'll check back in the morning with this micarta, and we'll see how it came out. We'll probably just come back to the micarta when we continue with putting our handle scales on. You'll see it then. So we'll just make this a separate little video, just showing you how we put it together. I also have a little mold. Maybe some of you have seen my other videos, have seen it. I made a little wooden box, and then I have a little piece of wood that slides right down inside of it, and one end is open. And we basically do it the same way with that little box. but it's a press, you know. So you lay some parchment paper in the bottom of it, then you put your resin soaked material, whatever that might be, over that parchment paper, and then you fold that parchment paper over again, and then put another board. I have a board that slides, fits right down in there. You put that board over that, and then you can clamp it or weight it, basically like we did here. But it keeps everything inside that nice little mold, you know. But I want to make bigger pieces of micarta here tonight, so we're not using the mold. We're just using the weighted on the counter method. So thanks for watching, and maybe this will enlighten some people on how to make micarta. I don't know. We'll see what happens when we go to put our scales on. You'll see if this micarta worked out or not. I'm sure it will. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.